The royal family is once again facing a storm, and this time the headlines are impossible to ignore. Prince Andrew, born Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, has reportedly been arrested under suspicion of misconduct in public office. The shockwaves from this development have rippled through the monarchy, sending the institution into crisis mode. Palace insiders are tight-lipped, official statements are carefully worded, and senior royals are scrambling to contain the fallout. But in the middle of all this chaos, there's one name that keeps resurfacing: Prince Harry. Not because he's speaking out, not because he's giving interviews, not because he's adding fuel to the fire, but because he isn't. And that silence, it speaks volumes. For years, Harry has been portrayed as the rebel, the disruptor, the one who dared to step outside the gilded cage of royal life. He was accused of airing dirty laundry. He was criticized for challenging the institution. He was vilified for telling his story in his memoir, Spare. He was branded everything from disloyal to dramatic. Yet here we are. The very issues Harry once highlighted, accountability, double standards, institutional protection, are now staring the monarchy in the face. Let's rewind for a moment. 3 years ago, when Spare was released, it caused a global earthquake. In the book, Harry did not mince words about the way the system operated. He spoke about hierarchy, favoritism, and how some members of the family were shielded while others were exposed. He wrote candidly about Prince Andrew, referencing the embarrassing scandal and the serious accusations that had already damaged the monarchy's reputation. Harry pointed out something that struck many readers as deeply uncomfortable. Despite the controversy surrounding Andrew, no one had suggested stripping him of security in the way Harry and Meghan had been treated. That observation wasn't just about protection detail, it was about principle, it was about fairness, it was about asking why some are insulated from consequences while others are swiftly punished. At the time, critics erupted. Commentators accused Harry of betrayal. Some said he was trying to embarrass his own family, others insisted he was bitter. But now, those words feel less like bitterness and more like foresight. Fast forward to today. The arrest of Andrew under suspicion of misconduct in public office has left the monarchy shaken. This isn't just another scandal, it's a reputational crisis layered on top of years of unresolved controversies. And in the middle of this, Harry is choosing restraint. According to sources, he has no intention of jumping into the fray. He has already made his views clear in his book. He said what he needed to say at a time when much of the institution remained silent. That silence from others back then was deafening. While Harry was criticized for honesty, others were protected by protocol. While Harry was stripped of security and publicly rebuked, Andrew retained privileges. And yet, now that the institution is grappling with the consequences of shielding the wrong people, Harry is not celebrating. He's not issuing statements. He's not saying, "I told you so." He's taking the high road. That choice matters. Because this moment could have been an opportunity for vindication. It could have been a chance to say, "See, this is what I meant." It could have been a public relations victory lap. Instead, Harry is demonstrating maturity, growth, restraint, and perhaps most importantly, compassion for the wider family even after everything. Let's talk about that growth. When Harry stepped back from royal duties in 2020 alongside Meghan, many predicted disaster. They said he would regret it. They said he would crawl back. They said he was destroying his legacy. But what we've seen instead is a man building a life rooted in independence and purpose. Through the Invictus Games, his advocacy work, and his commitment to mental health awareness, Harry has consistently demonstrated that his focus lies beyond palace politics. He has spoken openly about trauma, about grief, about generational pain, about the pressures of growing up in an institution that values silence over vulnerability. And whether you agree with every word he said or not, one thing is undeniable. He spoke his truth. Now, contrast that with the current situation. The monarchy is facing renewed scrutiny over how it handles misconduct allegations within its ranks. Questions are being asked about accountability structures, about who knew what, about who was protected and why. These are precisely the systemic issues Harry hinted at. But he's not amplifying them. He's not tweeting. He's not giving interviews. He's not writing op-eds. He's allowing events to unfold without inserting himself into the narrative. That restraint shows confidence. It suggests that Harry no longer feels the need to fight every battle publicly. And perhaps that's the most powerful position of all. Public sympathy has shifted dramatically over the years. While Harry once faced intense criticism in the British press, global audiences have grown more nuanced in their understanding of his decision to step away. Many now see a pattern. When Harry challenged the status quo, he was ostracised. When he spoke about unequal treatment, he was dismissed. But now, as scandals resurface, those earlier criticisms of him feel hollow. It raises uncomfortable questions for the institution. Was Harry punished for honesty? Was he made an example of to deter others from speaking out? And what does it say that the person who was accused of destabilizing the monarchy is currently the one acting with the most composure? Sources close to Harry say he isn't surprised by the unfolding events. He addressed Andrew's situation years ago in Spare. He acknowledged the embarrassment. He highlighted the contrast in treatment. He made his stance clear, and that clarity cost him dearly. He was branded disloyal. He was accused of attacking his own family. He was told to keep quiet. Now, silence belongs to him by choice, not by force. There's a difference, and it's a powerful one. Let's also acknowledge the broader context. King Charles has publicly stated his position regarding investigations. Official lines emphasize cooperation with authorities and respect for due process. The monarchy is clearly attempting to project stability. But behind closed doors, tensions must be high. This is not the first scandal the family has faced. However, each new controversy chips away at public trust. In times like these, optics matter, leadership matters, and consistency matters. Harry's critics often claimed he damaged the monarchy's reputation. Yet the current crisis stems from allegations against a senior royal who remained within the fold long after questions first arose. It forces observers to reconsider who truly endangered the institution's standing. Harry's decision to avoid piling on suggests he understands something fundamental. Institutions crumble not from external criticism, but from internal failure. He doesn't need to add commentary. The headlines are doing that already. What's striking is how differently Harry is perceived now compared to 3 years ago. Back then, Spare was seen by some as incendiary. Today, parts of it read like documentation. He wasn't merely venting, he was outlining systemic inconsistencies. And while critics focused on family drama, many readers noticed the deeper themes: power dynamics, media manipulation, mental health stigma, and unequal consequences. The Andrew situation brings those themes back into focus. Harry once pointed out that despite Andrew's scandal, security remained intact. Meanwhile, Harry and Meghan lost theirs, even though no accusations of misconduct were attached to them. That disparity wasn't trivial. Security isn't just about status, it's about safety. Harry argued that protection should not be weaponized as a tool of punishment. Now, that argument carries new weight, yet he's not shouting it from rooftops. He's focusing on his family in California, on Meghan, on their children, on the charitable work that defines their post-royal life. That steadiness sends a message. It says, I don't need this chaos to validate me. It says, my life no longer revolves around palace approval. And perhaps most tellingly, it says, growth means not revisiting every wound. There's also a human dimension here. No matter how strained relationships may be, scandals involving family members are painful. They're complicated. They stir up old tensions. Harry's restraint may reflect a desire to avoid deepening rifts. Because at the end of the day, beyond titles and headlines, this is still his family. That nuance often gets lost in tabloid narratives. Harry is frequently portrayed as either hero or villain, loyalist or traitor. Reality is more complex. He can disagree with institutional practices while still caring about individual relatives. He can advocate for reform without celebrating crisis. And that complexity makes him more relatable, not less. Let's talk about public perception. Polling in recent years has shown fluctuating support for various members of the royal family. Scandals inevitably shift those numbers. What's interesting is how often sympathy resurfaces for Harry during institutional controversies. Why? Because he warned about systemic problems. He experienced consequences for speaking, and now those systemic problems are visible to everyone. This moment isn't about winning, it's about perspective. Harry stepped away in pursuit of autonomy, mental well-being, and fairness for his family. He paid a price for that choice. But he also gained something invaluable: independence from the very system now under scrutiny. That independence allows him to remain calm while storms rage elsewhere. It allows him to focus on long-term purpose instead of short-term drama. And it allows him to maintain dignity in a situation where pettiness would be easy. The narrative that once framed Harry as impulsive feels outdated. His actions today suggest thoughtfulness, measured restraint, a refusal to exploit scandal for personal vindication. That maturity contrasts sharply with the chaos engulfing the institution. If anything, this moment underscores the difference between reformist critique and institutional denial. Harry critiqued from within. When that failed, he left. Now, as events unfold, he's not scrambling to defend an image. He's not strategizing about palace optics. He's living a life of his own design. That freedom is powerful. It's also instructive. Because perhaps the biggest takeaway here isn't about scandal. It's about accountability. Institutions survive when they confront uncomfortable truths early, not when they suppress them. Harry's willingness to speak years ago may have been uncomfortable, but it was rooted in a desire for transparency. The backlash he faced illustrates how resistant long-standing systems can be to internal critique. But time has a way of reshaping narratives. Today, many observers see his earlier warnings through a different lens, not as betrayal, but as caution, as frustration born from witnessing double standards firsthand, as a plea for fairness. And fairness is a principle that resonates far beyond royal walls. As this investigation continues, the monarchy will face difficult decisions. Reputations will be weighed, public trust will be tested, and history will record how leadership responded. Meanwhile, Harry's path remains steady. He has already spoken his truth. He has already endured the consequences. Now he is choosing silence not out of fear, but out of strength. That distinction matters, because real confidence doesn't need constant reinforcement. It doesn't need to prove itself at every opportunity. It simply exists. In many ways, this moment highlights the irony of the past few years. The man who was criticized for destabilizing the monarchy is currently the one demonstrating the most composure. The man accused of tarnishing reputations is the one refraining from commentary. The man portrayed as reckless is acting with restraint. And that reversal speaks volumes. Whether you support every decision Harry has made or not, it's hard to ignore the consistency of his message. Fairness, accountability, mental well-being, and protection for his family. Those values haven't changed. What's changed is the context, and context can transform perception. As the royal family navigates this crisis, one thing is clear. Harry's chapter is no longer defined by palace drama. It's defined by independence, by self-determination, by choosing when to speak and when not to. And sometimes silence says more than words ever could. In the coming weeks, headlines will continue. Commentators will speculate. Analysts will dissect every move. But Harry's position seems simple. He said what he needed to say years ago. He paid the price for it. And now he's letting history catch up. If that isn't growth, what is? And perhaps the most powerful statement of all isn't a quote, an interview, or a memoir excerpt. It's composure in the face of vindication. It's refusing to exploit scandal for applause. It's choosing the high road even when you were once pushed off it. That's not weakness. That's evolution. And in a world obsessed with reaction, Prince Harry's restraint may be the strongest move of all.